Everybody. Little known fact about me, I spent 20 years as a television sportscaster before moving to Silicon Valley. And I have had the opportunity to interview so many great athletes. I feel so fortunate. One thing I learned over the years in talking to all of these folks is that leadership is key. It is so important. It is important on the field. It's important on the court. It's important in the locker room. And guess what? It's also important in the boardroom for everybody in this room and everybody watching right now. You know, there's no better person to talk about leadership than NBA superstar Chris Mullin. He is a Hall of Famer. He is a 5-time NBA All-Star, and he's won 2 Olympic gold medals. He's a former Golden State Warrior, and we are so happy to welcome him to the stage. Hi, welcome. Chris, so excited to have you here.
My pleasure. It's nice to be here. Beautiful venue, and look forward to sharing my thoughts. And that last interview, you know, you talk about the boardroom. There's so much correlation these days with the business world, and you mentioned the locker room and the NBA and the Warriors, as technology has really taken over sports world with the analytics that is used on a daily basis. So there, even now more so than ever, a big correlation with the sports world and the business world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's go back in time a little bit before tech took over. You grew up in New York. What were some of your big influences as you were growing up and thinking about basketball?
I mean, very lucky, didn't have to look really too far. First and foremost, my family. You know, I was blessed. I was one of 5, middle of 5 children, mom and dad home each and every day. So I was blessed in that respect. So I had my older brother was my first idol. You know, he's a few years older than me, great athlete, so I looked up to him. And then as I kind of grew up, you know, people probably would be shocked, but I was born in '63, so late '60s, early '70s, the Knicks and the Jets were actually winning championships. So that would be Joe Namath, Walt Frazier. So they were really good teams back then. It's been, I don't know, 40, 50 years since they won a championship, but so we had great role models locally in New York. And then also different, we didn't have as much on TV. Yeah. So if there was a game on a Saturday afternoon, I would make sure to watch that game no matter who it was, whether the Celtics, the Knicks, the Lakers, and then go out and try to emulate those players. Much like, you know, like Steph and Clay, you see so many, the impact they have, not only on our community, but globally. And a lot of it is really just trying to follow winners and trying to emulate their daily habits, trying to pick up something from great, successful people. So I was kind of exposed to that at a young age. And you know, it was funny, I was at a golf tournament yesterday over in the East Bay, and one of my idols was there. You know, Dr. J, Julius Erving, who's a great ABA, NBA player. And he's a New York guy. And it was funny, the college kids had no idea who he was.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, really. Not enough for my taste. But I would, you know, I found myself just schooling these kids on the greatness of Dr. J, not only on the court, but off the court, the way he handled himself. So, growing up in New York was, in my mind, a great eye-opener.
You mentioned habits. Like, if there are 3 habits that all of us should know about leadership or becoming a leader, what are those? I mean, I've heard the ones, make your bed every day, because that puts you in a mindset. Like, what are 3 habits that you could share?
Yeah. You know, in general, and probably business people as well, athletes in general, very creatures of habit, right? Once the season's getting ready to start soon, training camp starts in a week. And once that season kicks in, you've got your schedule, you don't really deviate. You know, I could just looking back on my career, you know, it was 11 o'clock practice till about 1, then you get your treatment, or if it's a game day, it's a shoot around, and you got buses and planes. So you really get locked into your daily routine. And the people that are able to maintain that routine, and every player has a little different routine, but through adversity, through losing, and not deviating from what makes you successful. That's really the key. Like I said, for each player, it's a little different, but being able to maintain, like I said, through the ebbs and flows of a long season. Again, in business, so many things pop up unexpectedly, and that's what an NBA season's all about. We all know the Warriors made a lot of changes to their roster, so I think on the court is a set of, things that they have to address just to try and build that chemistry and continuity. But then on the daily basis, whether it be injuries and all these things that pop up, and the people that are able to adapt. You talked about agility in the marketplace, being agile as far as having roles defined. When someone does go down, that next player not only able to do it, but understanding what his role is when those different situations arise. So as far as the three things, I think it's really, addressing your own individual daily schedule, maintaining it, and then fitting into that team, whatever your role is. Steve Kerr is going to define these new roles for this new roster, accepting those roles, and then starring in that role.
How important is chemistry as part of a winning team? And you've been on winning teams, you've been on losing teams. Chemistry, obviously important, but what else?
Yeah, chemistry, they call it culture. There's a lot of buzzwords. Yeah. To me, what it really is having a cohesive unit, everyone accepting their roles, which is one goal, is to win a championship. And really, the NBA is a funny thing. So in the off season is the time when you can be really selfish, work on your weaknesses, really dedicate to your body, be individualized. When training camp starts, it's time for you to take all your skills, and maybe the coach is going to ask you not to do one of your strong points for the better of the team. Yeah. I heard Steve Kerr talking yesterday, was talking about if this is going to work, we need everyone to buy into their roles, accept them, and star in those roles. So, to me, the Warriors will be, I think they're going to have a chance to win another championship. But there's probably this year more than ever coming into the season, more questions need to be answered because of the turnover of the roster.
Yeah. I think we hear that a lot in business about roles and responsibilities, and some of the best teams I've been on have been people who, okay, this is my lane, and I know my role, and they don't necessarily go out of that.
Yeah, I think, and I've talked to a lot of different companies and big, huge companies. And it's funny, it's always funny to me how a large corporation wants to function like a small team, right? They want to have like a small locker room feel with 50,000 people. Now, if you go into an NBA winning locker room, you'll feel welcome, you'll feel warmth and connectivity, and you'll be like, wow, this is a cool place to be. If you walk into a losing locker room, you'll feel like you're in a big city. Everything's spread out. Nobody's talking, and you can feel it. You can feel it right away. So when you hear those words, culture, chemistry, what it really is that on a daily basis, whether it be practice, shoot around, film session, that the group is connected. Yeah. And it doesn't always mean it's always happy and jovial, but there's a line of communication, and even when you disagree, when it's over, you can move on and get back to the common goal. And it sounds simple, but again, when you're talking about 82 games, traveling, spending more time with each other than you do your family, the outside distractions become as much a factor and thing that you have to control as much as the court. Because once they get on the court, you're at the place where you're most happiest. It's getting, moving from practice to flight to game times 82 and then getting to the playoffs.
Now, you've been a player, you've been a coach as well. What did you learn as a player that helped you as a coach?
Oh, a lot. I think anytime, if you listen, it helps. I wasn't the most talented player, so I was really, no matter what level, whether it be CYO, high school, college, I was always locked into what the game plan was, what the strategy was offensively, defensively, because I really needed to rely on my teammates to succeed. So I understood angles, like I said, offensively, defensively, what our strategy was. But to be able to succeed, again, you have to, understand your teammates, respect your teammates, and then coexist. So it's one thing to put together talent. Does that talent fit?
Yeah.
Right? And different organizations are at different stages. The Warriors, for the last 10 years, their only goal is to win championships. So when they tinker with their roster, it's really not, a lot of times, not a long-term vision. It's about this season winning a championship as that window's open with Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Kevon Looney, and Wiggins.
Yeah. How do you see basketball changing over the next 10 years? I mean, if we look back, three-point line, 3 points changed the game. Is there a 4-point line in our future? As I start watching games, I'm wondering what's next.
It's funny, that's a great question. Obviously, and you mentioned it, the biggest difference in the NBA is the amount of three-point shots that are taken. We mentioned analytics earlier. That's really where that came from. For those people, believe it or not, in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s, we did know that 3 points was more than 2 points. we didn't need AI and analytics to tell us that. But I was telling someone yesterday that what happened was, even when I played in college and high school, we had no shot clock and no three-point line. So you think about it, it's really a different sport.
Yeah.
The offensively, strategically, what we were taught was to get the best shot that you wanted to take. You run a play for a specific shot. If the play didn't work, you bring the ball back out and run another one because there was no shot clock. Yeah. Kind of boring, but that was the way we were taught. The other thing that was taught was to draw fouls, to bring the ball inside, to maybe get the opponent in foul trouble and get to the free throw line. Yeah. Now, the way the game's played now, it's really take the first open shot, and ideally a three, definitely over a two, or a layup. Analytically makes sense, right? But as the game, and you talked about a lot of different things that change, but fundamentally, the teams that win championships still do all phases of the game. They do get to the free throw line. They don't just shoot threes. I don't know if you guys saw when the Warriors beat Houston. They went 0 for 27 from the three-point line. So my thing is I'd rather have at least 1 point and not 0. So again, getting back to fundamentally the things that carry out and what makes Steph and Clay so special, besides their incredible offensive gifts, is the ability to work to get open, to get a high-quality shot. You talk about efficiency in the business world. It's one thing to have a lot of tools at your disposal, but to be able to use them efficiently and effectively, that's when you become a high-level business or a championship team. There's a lot of players that try and emulate Steph and Clay, but they don't do the extra details.
Well, and you're saying, too, you have to have a well-rounded team. You can't just rely on the three-point shot.
Yeah, balance is everything. Balance is everything. It's great. Every once in a while, you're going to go out and make 25, 30 threes, you're going to win that game. But it's the games where maybe you're not shooting that three-point shot. Are you balanced? Is your roster balanced enough where you can all of a sudden, change style of play, which the Warriors over the last 10 years have been incredible at. The three-point shooting has gotten the most hype. We talked about hype earlier, but they really beat you with pull-up twos, getting to the free throw line, and layups.
We'd love to do some rapid-fire questions, just maybe some off-topic a little bit. Best vacation place that you've ever been?
Oh. I'm going to say those two places. My two favorite places are Italy and Spain to go on vacation.
Okay.
So those are my two favorite spots that we've been to. So Italy and Spain.
Best pizza? What?
Do I need to answer that?
Yeah, you're from New York, come on.
Yeah. Well, my favorite pizza, which I think is the best pizza in the world, is John's on Bleecker Street in the West Village in New York City.
Okay.
If you get to New York, you got to go there.
I think there's some folks who are going to write that down.
And I have a contact for you, too.
What's your favorite TV show ever?
Oh, man, favorite TV show ever. Well, when I was a kid growing up, we had a nice 3 shows in a row on WPIX Channel 11.
Okay.
The Odd Couple, The Honeymooners, and Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay.
I was 11:30, and 12. 12:30 bedtime.
Well, I'm with you on Twilight Zone. Favorite movie?
Godfather.
Oh, okay. No, that's a good one. Book?
You know, I'm going to go way back. One of my favorite books ever was when I read in high school was Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, no, that's a good one. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
What kind?
That is extreme. You talk about being unbalanced. We have a Shih Tzu, about this big, and we have an Akita that's about 160 pounds.
Do they get along?
They do.
Okay, good. You built
And the
a
Shih
good
Tzu,
team.
and the Shih Tzu's the boss. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite NBA player? Past, present?
I've got so many,
Yeah.
but the one player who I really studied growing up was John Havlicek. I mentioned growing up in New York, and when I was a kid, really the only three teams I saw consistently were the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Lakers. That was really the teams I got to see on TV. But John Havlicek was a player I studied. The reason I wore number 17 was in tribute to him. An incredible player, very humble superstar, and yes, he's the one guy that I really try to model my game after.
Do you have a favorite coach?
Yeah, my all-time favorite is my college coach, Lou Carnesecca, who will be turning 99 this year, February 5th. Still sharp as a whip. But the reason he was more than my college coach. I met him when I was 10 years old. I used to go to his camp. And I wound up playing for him at St. John's. So he's the closest person that had the biggest impact on my life. And then in the NBA, my favorite coach was Don Nelson, who coached me here with the Warriors.
Oh, okay. Would you like to live in the past, now, or in the future?
Definitely now.
Now.
In the now.
Okay.
I think we learn from the past. We have to always, take our experiences from the past and learn from them, both good and bad. Yes, I'm all about living in the now. We do have to make plans, for the future, but really living in the now is really, I think, the only way I function.
Do you follow college football at all?
A little bit.
Okay. I'm going to just throw a question at you because we've talked a little bit about hype here today. Things get hypey. Deion Sanders and the Buffs. Do you know enough about them to answer?
I've actually watched them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they all hype?
I got a few buddies who are alumni. So.
Are they hype? Is there something there?
No, I think there's something there. Okay. And the reason being is that this college sports is a whole different ballgame now with the ability to get new players overnight and be eligible. So the transfer portal that you can bring players in and so you can change your roster overnight. I think he's got 80 new players. Yeah. Obviously, the NIL changes everything.
It does.
So you can get players to come in. So this is really the first year of those rules kicking in. So they got, you look at their roster. I'm sure they've got big time transfers. So then you're not talking about freshmen and you're breaking them in. So it's a different set of rules. Obviously, they lost last week to Oregon, and they got USC coming up. So we'll see. But Deion, again, I love seeing players like Deion. Any ex-players in their field passing on their knowledge and experience. And it seems like he's not just teaching football. He's really trying to mentor those young men so they can be successful beyond their football careers. And we all know football, probably more than any sport, is a really short career. There's a lot of injuries, obviously, in the sport. So I think he's doing a great job, not just, and look, part of sports, it's an entertainment business, so part of it is hype, right? I think what the real successful athletes individually in programs and teams and organizations are the ones that, it's kind of a marketing tool. But then when you get back into the locker room, onto the court, it's really about maximizing, living in the day, trying to improve, trying to get your team situated, because so the hype is really kind of separate from your daily routine.
And living in the now, which is
no question
what we should all be doing, I guess. Closing thoughts on leadership? Anything you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, I was just taken back how similar the gentleman before speaking, all the things they said relates to sports and successful organizations. So there's a lot. We talked about the change in basketball with three-point shot and analytics, all those changes, but there's also a lot of things that fundamentally don't change. And the successful people, the successful businesses and teams, they're focused. I think they're very accountable to each other, you know, so you have that trust and communication. And then being agile, you know, I heard that word being used. You know, the Warriors, you know, they're probably going to leave a roster spot open. That's much like leaving some space to be able to maneuver, you know, if something becomes available, right? So there's so much, I do think it's because of analytics. The connection with business and sports is closer now more than ever.
All right. Chris Mullin, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank
so
you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
You.